So what's going on guys, Kids here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will show you the best Guild Wars 2 tier list for PvP and PvE. So this game in general has a bunch of fun classes to play and we have very unique variety to choose from. But the big question is, which classes and professions are actually good for the specific activities that you want to do. So I've done a bunch of testing and here are the results. If this sounds interesting to you, then let's get right into it. So then moving over to the first S tier class, and it is the necromancer. The necromancer is fantastic at overwhelming enemies with conditions. Actually, the minions are incredibly cool as they attack and deal damage, but also they have their unique skills that they can use after they've been summoned. Necromancers have a variety of weapons to choose from, which can fit a number of different build choices, such as power strike damage or maybe even a condition damage skill set. This class's unique mechanic is their life force bar and the death shroud. As the necromancer is in combat and utilizing their abilities, he will generate life force as a secondary health bar, and when they need to, necromancers can activate the death shroud, which empowers the necromancer with a new set of damaging skills and abilities that can inflict fear, conditions, and some really strong strike damage. The shroud also acts as a defensive tool, because if you're taking damage while in the shroud, then it will deplete the life force health pool and not your main health bar. The necromancer's elite specializations are the greatsword slicing reaper, the sandwrath scourge, and the dark alchemist the harbinger. So overall I highly recommend the necromancer to a newer player, as it's incredibly forgiving for mistakes, while also being very powerful. Also the help of minions to tank enemies is a massive benefit. So then for the second class we have the elementalist, which we will place right in the S tier. The elementalist uses the forces of fire, air, earth, and water to overwhelm, crush, burn, and blast enemies. This class has access to few weapons that vary in range types, like the daggers for up close and personal, the scepter for medium range, and the staff for long range. Their unique mechanic from the elementalist is their elements. The elementalist cannot swap weapons in combat. Instead, their weapon set has access to 4 variations depending on the element that they switch to. The elementalist changes attunements to suit what he needs for every fight. So fire is damage oriented, water is healing and cleansing, air is damage and crowd control, and earth is defensive and bleeding. Knowing which of the attunements to be in at any given time will be the hardest thing to learn for this class. The elementalist's elite specializations are the Warhorn Blasting Tempest, the Element Fusing Weaver, or the Hammer Bashing Catalyst. So overall the elementalist is the toughest one to pick and play, as they have low health and they need to bounce between the 4 elements to be effective. Then for the next class we have the mesmer, which we will put right in the A tier. Mesmer's weapons have both melee and ranged options that include some type of fantasism in each that can be summoned. These fantasisms and clones play into their profession mechanic, which are called the shattering skills. These skills have interestingly stronger effects, depending on the amount of clones that they shatter. This can also be realized as either direct damage, applying confusion, dazing enemies, or even granting temporarily invulnerability. Many of these skills help the mesmer to be slippery and evasive, as they typically don't do well in upfront continuous combat. The mesmer's elite specializations are the time-splitting chronomancer, shadow dancing mirage, or the dagger-throwing virtuoso. So overall, the clone management as well as lower defenses of the mesmer make it moderately difficult to pick up and play, but once you learn how to survive, you can pretty much dominate anything with this class. So then for the fourth class we have the warrior, which we will place right next to the mesmer. So warriors are melee fighters that are extremely violent for up close and personal. The warrior is in the heavy armor category, and he has many different weapon options, mostly melee with few ranged weapons as well. Their unique class ability or profession mechanic is their burst skill. When in combat, warriors will generate adrenaline, which then is spent on burst skills that can deal some serious damage or control enemies. Warriors have some pretty unique skills, like their banners, that benefit allies or weaken enemies, or even their physical skills, which offer some crazy crowd control. Warriors also tend to have some very high baseline defensive stats in vitality and toughness, This class has 3 elite specializations are the Burning Berserker, the Dagger-wielding Spellbreaker, and the Gun-blazing Bladesworn. To unlock any elite specialization, you must reach max level, and then gather all the required hero points to unlock it fully. So overall, Warrior is very easy to pick up and learn. As you reach endgame, he will get a bit more complex, because of his elite specializations. Then for the 5th class we have the Engineer, which deserves to be in the A tier. This is another incredibly unique class that combines grenades, explosions, mechanical skills, and alchemic intelligence to overcome enemies. This profession has access to the least amount of weapons in a form of the rifle, pistol or the shield, but he makes up for it by having access to weapon kits, which allow them a brand new set of weapon skills that they can utilize on the fly. This class's unique mechanic is their tool belt. This belt offers 5 new skills above their base weapon bar that can change depending on the utility skill choices that they make. Engineers have all sorts of unique skills, some that will allow you to become super small and invulnerable, and others allowing you to summon turrets or even equip a flamethrower. The Engineer's elite specializations are the Gyro Spinning Scrapper, the Sun Channeling Hollowsmith, or the Mr. Robot Smashing Mechanism. Overall, because of the amount of skill choices, combined with the weapon kits, and knowing when to use them, this profession could be pretty difficult to understand and play. And then for the last and final A tier class we have the Revenant. And just for your information, you must purchase an expansion to gain access to this class. So Revenant is an incredibly unique class, as he literally summons historic figures from the Tyrace's past to harness their powers. They have access to mostly melee weapons, except the hammer, which is ironically a ranged weapon. Aside from that, their profession mechanic is their legendary stances. Every time a Revenant changes his stances and channels a legend, they will always get the same set of skills tied to that particular legend. At any given time, they can have 2 of these legends equipped and ready to summon, and each one of the legends can do something very well, like the Dwarf stance for example being very defensive, while the Assassin stance is very incredibly offensive. The Revenant also utilizes energy that is permanent or disappears over time while maintaining an ability. Energy management is critical for success with this class. So his elite specializations are the Juggernaut the Herald, the Citadel Bowman the Renegade, and the Impact Meteor Vindicator. Overall, Revenant is a bit difficult class to pick up and learn, as mismanaging energy and legend swapping can be very hard. So then for the first B tier class we have the Ranger. The Ranger is your somewhat typical archer type of character, with an animal companion, and that's about where all the typicalness of his profession stops. The Ranger communes with the wild and nature itself, and as such is incredibly strong as a solo profession. They utilize a wider variety of pet commands and chops to eliminate enemies. The Ranger's temple weapon is the longbow, because they are one of the few professions that actually can utilize it. But they also have a great mix of melee and ranged weapons as well. The unique mechanic of the Ranger is of course their animal companion. Not only does the pet take aggro of the Ranger, but they can also dish out some serious damage if you use the right build. Each of the Ranger's pets can be commanded directly, as well as bring a unique skill that is tied to the type of pet that you actually have equipped. The Ranger's elite specs are the Nature Commune Druid, the Pet-wielding Soul Beast, and the Fist of the Wild Untamed. So overall, given their pet and fairly high health pool, the Ranger is a great pick for a newer player, as the class is overall incredibly forgiving. Then for the next class we have the Guardian, which gets to be placed right in the B tier. This is another heavy armor class that focuses on supportive and defensive magic. Guardians are melee oriented, but have even few ranged weapon options as well. One of the biggest strengths of the Guardian is how they play into group compositions, because they have a plethora of amazing buffs for group effects and healing. Although with that said, they still have some heavy offensive options as well, through the Greatsword or their burning passive effect, which is the Virtuous. Their Virtues is his unique class mechanic, and these virtues are Justice, Courage and Resolve. Justice offers passive and active burning. Resolve will offer passive regeneration, as well as active healing and cleansing. Courage will passively grant Eye Aegis, which is boon that blocks the next incoming attack. This is both passively generated as well as it can be activated on demand. The Guardian's elite specializations are the longbow-wielding Dragon Hunter, the Burning God, the Firebrand, and the sword-swinging assassin, the Willbender. So overall, the Guardian is extremely easy to play for new players. And then for the last and final class we have the Thief, which we will place in the C tier. The Thief is an absolute god at misdirection, stealth and overall outplay capabilities. The Thief has a balanced weapon kit with access to pistols, daggers, swords and even a short bow. This profession's mechanic is Steal, which takes an item from the target and grants the Thief a new ability for a short period of time. On top of that, they will also gain access to stealth attacks that deal incredibly high damage and are only available when you enter the stealth mode. When the Thief combines two weapons, their third weapon slot becomes a dual attack, which gives them a unique attack based off whatever combo they choose. This class also has a unique resource called the Initiative, which powers all of their weapon attacks. This means that their weapon skills have no cooldown, but are limited to the amount of initiatives to attack. This of course will regenerate over time, and can be replenished by either way skills or trade line choices. The Thief's elite specializations are the Staff Smashing Daredevil, the Sniper Deadeye, or the Shadow Master Spectre. So overall the Thief is moderately difficult to pick up and play, as they have very little defensives outside of their stealth or evasion. But once understood, they're very straightforward. So with that said, I really do appreciate everyone for watching guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions, feedback or other good Guild Wars 2 guides that you would like to see in the next video, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. And while you're doing that, please click like, subscribe and enable that notification bell, so this way you could support the channel and not miss any more amazing content. With all this said, you have an amazing day and I will see you in my next video, so take it easy, peace.